My assistant Kelly comes in and brings this urgent situation to me. It's a deal that we have actively under contract. We got this deal. We either are gonna lose money on it or make $150,000 on this deal. Now, Kelly gets a call from the seller. The seller is upset. He finds red flag after red flag after red flag in my business and says, I don't know if I want to do business with you guys anymore. So in this call, I have to overcome those objections. I might be able to, I might not be able to, but either way, this is a good training moment, not only for Kelly, who's on my team, but it's a good training moment for you. Now, I've taken thousands of these calls and put tens of thousands of hours into my craft, and I love doing these calls, but what happens is sometimes it goes over everybody's head really, really fast because I do things so quickly. At the end of this video, I actually break it all down on a whiteboard so it makes sense to you, even though you haven't done thousands of these calls. So the value of these videos that we're bringing to you, not only giving you a live call, but also breaking it down and dissecting it. You gotta remember, when we do these calls, and if I can overcome these objections, this becomes a massive series that we'll do. This is call number 1. And if I can close this and overcome those objections, we'll have call 2, call 3, we'll get the contract, we'll make all the money, but we stand to make $150,000 or lose this contract altogether in this call. Okay, so Don told us that we need to talk to Shannon at the title company. He wanted to verify who I was. That's the main reason he was willing to talk to us.
I talked to somebody there about getting the payoff, and they would absolutely not tell me anything. And Tim had to call because she was like, "You need an authorization." And I said, "Do you have forms for that?" She's like, "No, figure it out yourself." And I was like, "Okay, Tim, can you go get the updated payoff for this?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's cool, but I can definitely try to call and talk to Shannon."
Yeah, so he's not aware of how transactions work. So he's throwing you for a loop because he's uneducated, okay? So he's like you just assume because he's an old man, he knows what he's talking about. Remember, this guy, his name is Don. Nobody takes anybody named Don seriously.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm just kidding, I know a lot of Dons that are bad. But he doesn't know anything about real estate, and you're assuming he does. So he's throwing you for a loop. Here's what's going on. He doesn't know how foreclosures work, and what's happening is he's going, why are these people calling me, and how did they get involved in this transaction? And so he looked up my LLC and said, I don't know who you are. So you got to imagine what's going on in his life right now. All the wholesalers in the country are calling Don, so he's getting dozens of calls already. And you seem to have more information than any of these other people. So he's like, well, this seems real, but how do I verify? So he went, looked at our LLC. Did he find out who I was through the LLC?
No.
No, and so that's actually what caused him more of an issue. The issue it caused was, well, I don't know who you are, and I looked up your LLCs, and you're all like hidden, and now that's making me worry, okay? So he now wants us to verify with the title company. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to call Shannon.
Okay.
Hey, Shannon, we are about to negotiate with Dawn to buy the note from Dawn to save Dawn time in avoiding foreclosing on Tim. We want to buy the note from Dawn, and Dawn needs to verify who we are. Can you help us in making sure that Don knows who we are and that we're okay to talk to him? I'm still gonna have to talk to Don. I'm still gonna have to have a conversation with him, but he's at a point in the conversation where he's like, if the title company Shannon doesn't tell me it's okay to talk to you, then I can't talk to you. All right, so Kelly and I had a conversation. I want to give you some context to this because Kelly is on my team. She runs my transactions. She's a top tier transaction coordinator. And I want to make sure that I take time to address why she was dealing with this and why she got the call from Don, the seller. And this is a good point, is to make sure your team understands this. So in the future, when you have more of these things, you can stop and remind them, hey, remember that one time we did this with Don and I gave you that training moment? Oh, that's right. That's what I was doing with Kelly. Now, I'm about to jump in the call with Don. Don is not a happy camper, okay? He's kind of a crabby guy. And what I know about crabs is that they're hard on the outside, soft on the inside, as long as you take the time to be patient to get through that first layer. So that's what I'm gonna attempt to do in this call. Let's see if I can do it.
Hello.
Hi, Don, my name is Pace. How you doing?
I'm doing fairly good.
Good, me too. I'm calling about the property that Tim tried to buy from you on seller finance and has failed to perform.
Correct.
I am thinking about coming in and saving him from foreclosure, then I thought, well, if Tim hasn't upheld his agreements with you, then why would Tim uphold my agreements with me? And I thought, why don't I just call Don and see if I can save Don some time, energy, and effort and just buy the note from Don?
This was brought up, and the point is valid as far as why would you think he would follow through with you?
Right, that's what I'm worried about. So my thought is, why don't I just buy the note from Don directly?
The bottom line is obviously this note is held through a title company, and they're the ones basically in control of this process at this point. And I have put in a call to them. I am not familiar and don't know much as far as buying the note, how that would work and the process and so forth.
Okay.
And whether or not that would cause complications through the title company. So my first words on this and thoughts are this has to go through the title company.
No problem.
If you can somehow convince them and then have them contact me saying this is all well and good and they are okay with this, then the money would obviously have to be paid in order for the process to go through.
Yes, sir. Totally understand. We do this frequently, and I'm grateful to hear that you want us to go through a title company because we prefer that.
Now, I've got some questions here, and this has to do with the LLC that was mentioned to me.
Yes, sir.
And what can you tell me as far as this LLC and where this originated, how long has it been in operation and so forth? I used to have my own LLC as an investor here in Lake Havasu when I built and sold spec homes.
Okay.
So I need some background from you on who you are, where you're from, and how this came about.
Okay, so my name is Pace Morby. I own $500 million in real estate, 2,132 rentals in 15 different states. I've been an investor for quite a while. I started in doing foreclosures and helping people out of foreclosures, and I scaled a large team over the last 11 years to get in the position I'm currently in.
Where did this start, Morby?
Where it started is where I was just explaining to you where it started, is my long history. As you can imagine, my long history as being a real estate investor, people call me when they're in trouble.
I looked up this.
I don't even know which LLC it is. I have over 45 LLCs, so it could be a newer one, it could be an older one. Which one is it?
The one that was mentioned to me was Saguaro Cactus Holdings.
Yep. Saguaro Cactus Holdings, I believe, is 6 or 7 years old, and it holds, I think, 30 other LLCs, and those LLCs probably own somewhere around 300 or 400 rentals.
Okay, what I find online was this formerly was in Florida. Is that correct?
That is incorrect. Saguaro Cactus Holdings is in Arizona, and it is held by a Wyoming LLC, which with anonymity, and then that's held by a trust.
Okay, well, there's some conflicts that kind of concern me when I try and verify this information.
Okay.
When I see the articles of organization pertaining to Cactus Holdings, it brings up an entity name of PJM Acquisitions LLC as a domestic LLC in Arizona with a statutory agent name Registered Agents Incorporated.
Yes, sir.
Out of Oro Valley. And this just took effect
You're talking about
August 15th.
You're talking about probably
Organizer.
PJ Morby or PJM Acquisitions is probably the one you're referencing right now.
PJM is the one that I brought up secondary
Yep.
to Saguaro Cactus Holdings.
Okay, so Saguaro Cactus Holdings is probably here. I'll pull it up. Let's go online. I'll pull it up for you. I don't own one LLC and I don't own one business. We own hundreds of rentals and we don't put all of those in one LLC. So let me pull this up right now and I'll tell you the chain of command where it goes. I have a family office. Don, do you know what a family office is?
Not necessarily in your aspect as to what you're asking about.
So a family office is a group of people that manage wealth for people like myself. So I have a full-time office of people, 15 people at a company called Do Wealth that manage all of my LLCs, manage all of my bank accounts. And the smart thing to do would maybe put you on the phone with
Top secret.
who manages all of my money and my assets. He is
Actually, over the phone is not going to verify and give me any.
Well, I can have him drive. I can have him drive to you if you need him to.
I think the first thing and the most important in this manner, I need to touch base with the title company, and if you are agreeable to pay them first to stop this foreclosure, that is the effective and most immediate way to conclude this. When you speak about buying the note,
Yeah.
that to me is kind of a vague, okay, well, I do have the promissory note signed by Tim, but I am not familiar with the process of selling that note, and that's why I've contacted the title company to give me an overview as to how common this is and so forth. You indicate that it happens all the time. The realtor that I used said he has heard of it, but I need, and because this is under the jurisdiction, shall we say, or the oversight of the title company,
Yeah.
who handled the contract in the first place, they are the people that I need to go through.
No
And
problem.
You can understand it.
Of course. I not only do I understand it, I appreciate that you want to go that route because that's the route I would guide you. Do you have a contact information and maybe a person that I could call at the title company to build a relationship with them?
I definitely do.
Okay,
I
great.
definitely do.
I'm ready whenever you are.
More top secret names.
Got it. Okay.
And I've put in a call to her and asked for her to return my call in this same matter so that we are all on the same page, agreeing to the same terms.
Perfect. So Kelly on my team, I'm going to have her reach out to Shannon as well so we can give Shannon all of our verification of who we are, the fact that we have money sitting in the bank account, we have proof of that money, and build a relationship with her and start having a conversation and hopefully save you some time.
Yeah, that would be beautiful, and I wholeheartedly support that plan.
Perfect.
I did, and I don't know whether it was Kelly, but the girl that I spoke to earlier said they had already contacted Pioneer Title, and that's part of the reason I called them to verify that fact. And she gave me a buy-off amount, and I kind of go, okay, that's probably consistent. And she indicated to me that that buy-off total was good until November 20th. So that gives me reason to believe that this has been researched and so forth. But based on what I found when I started doing the research online, as far as the moving forward ventures and the Saguaro Cactus Holdings, there are some flags, and for that reason we're talking, and you know what I know at this point and probably more.
Yes, sir. Perfect. Well, in closing, let me tell you, people like myself that own as many assets as I own, my job is to hire people to protect my name. So for example, you will never see my name, Pace Morby, on a single document. You will never see, and you understand why I have registered agents out of Oro Valley and all that stuff.
Likewise, I had DJ Gray Investments LLC when I was building and selling houses. I understand.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've done that.
Okay, cool.
I had a Nevada corporation before I moved to Arizona.
All right.
So kudos, understood.
Love it. Okay, great. Well, we'll make sure that Shannon can verify all the ownership of the trust and the LLCs and all that kind of stuff before we do the transaction. And we'll reach out to her and make sure we start the ball rolling.
Yeah, because this deed or this note is actually entitled to my trust.
Okay, great.
So it's all part of a package deal, and that's the way the contract was written and signed.
Love it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
All right.
Don.
I appreciate the feedback. You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So many things to break down in this call, but one of the things I want you to know is that the tone needs to address the person you're talking to. Sometimes when you get an older, crotchety man, a guy that's just like kind of no BS, you have to match that, right? This is called mirroring in sales. And so I actually mirrored this seller with his attitude. I gave him the same amount of attitude plus about 10% more to see if I could combat that. Let's break down the rest of the call.
Okay. What do we learn in these conversations?
Credibility is key. Yeah.
Credibility is key, number one. Number two, it's nice to know that nobody can pull up any of my information about any of my LLCs that it actually throws up a red flag of like, I don't know who you are, I can't see your name on anything,
All it says is some registered agent in Oro Valley, and this throws up red flags. Perfect. That means if one of my tenants sees who they're paying money to, moving forward ventures, they can't find a single thing out about me. If a guy who is foreclosing on somebody who's a pretty savvy guy can't find a thing about me, then some tenant in one of my properties will never find it out as well. So proper corporate structure is super important, and I love hearing that, where I'm like, I love when people call and go, we can't verify who you are. Good.
I like that you turned it around and made it something that made you seem stronger.
Yes, he shut the hell up really fast. So I was like, yeah, let's look it up right now. Or I was like, well, I own this much and I did da-da-da-da. It's like, oh, I'm in over my depth. I better backpedal. Well, now, you know what? Will you just call the title company? It went from, I need to verify who you are and why, blah, 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 and why are we on this call, to, holy crap, will you just call the title company so I don't have to have this conversation? And also, a cadre old man doesn't want to be shown up by a younger man, so what did he have to do? He has to one-up me every time I said something.
Well, yeah, I know how it is. I had an LLC too that was also in Nevada.
I got 100 LLCs, and ain't none of them in Nevada. Okay, mine are in Wyoming where they should be. Nevada's an old school thing. If you got gray hair coming out of your ears, of course you got an LLC in Nevada, because somebody told you to do that in 1992.
Don owns a property in Arizona. Don decides, I want to sell this property in Arizona for $350,000. A guy comes along named Tim. Yes, I know I use the name Tim a lot. Tim says, I can see myself living in that house one day. Well, Tim reaches out to Don, says, hey Don, I'd like to buy this property on seller finance. Don says, I don't know why I would do that. I'm in a retirement home. I would like to get all my money as fast as possible. Okay, well, we already know the solution to that. The solution to that is doing a balloon. Now, sadly, Tim is not in Subto, so he's not intelligent enough how to set up a balloon properly. But he set up a balloon that he had 3 years to pay off the $350,000. When you have kids, you realize how fast 3 years goes by, don't you? Like, how the crap did my child grow? Okay, so if time goes by fast, do you think Tim spent any time even thinking that 3 years was gonna go so fast that he was like, I forgot to work on my credit to get a new loan, I forgot to get more money, I forgot to save money for a down payment, I forgot to do all these things so I could refinance Dawn out of this loan? Pretty easy to forget that, right? So Tim goes to Dawn and says, Dawn, it's been 3 years. I have failed to perform. I have failed to even think about this loan in 3 years. Oh my gosh. Will you please give me a 3-month extension? Don saying, gosh dang it, has a soft heart. You can hear this guy might be crabby on the outside, but he's a soft guy on the inside. He's a nice guy, you can tell. Okay, so Don says, yes, I'll give you a 3-month extension. Guess what happens with Tim? Tim fails to make that extension happen. Then Don is smart enough to go, yeah, Tim, did you know that the house I sold to you for $350,000 is now worth $650,000? No more extensions. I'm foreclosing and I'm taking this house. That's what Don is currently doing. That's the guy I just talked to. Don is in the process of foreclosing on Tim. So how can I make money on this situation, my friends? Here's the way I make money on the situation. If I'm just a boring wholesaler, here's what a boring wholesaler will do. Boring wholesalers. A boring wholesaler will offer a cash offer of, let's say, probably $400 to $460, somewhere in there, probably, give or take, depending on how well you can negotiate. And if I got that price and Tim was willing to take that, Tim would walk away making $50,000 to $110,000 on his home, and he would walk away. And guess what? Tim would have a frowny face because this is Tim's forever home. He loves this house. He's excited about keeping the house. He wants to be there. He's done everything to upgrade this house over the last 3 years to be perfect for him. So does Tim actually want to sell this property for cash? No. What does Tim actually want to do? Stay. Like 99% of everybody in foreclosure wants to figure out how to stay in their house, okay? So I've been doing the game long enough to know that most people don't even want a cash offer in foreclosure. A cash offer in foreclosure is usually because it's their last resort. They want to figure out how to stay in the house. Cash offer doesn't allow them to do that. So of course, I give Tim that option. And I tell Tim, as I'm giving him that option, I go, I'm gonna give you an option A, that is not gonna work for you.
So when I tell you the option, I'm just telling it to you so you know I have other options, but I know you're gonna say no to it. I then go to Tim and I said, hey, I could do a sub-2 seller finance situation. And this is when I found out that the guy's foreclosing on him and that it's a private note. I thought it was a foreclosure with a bank. Then I find out it's a private note. Ugh. That kind of kills the deal for me. Why? Because this guy doesn't want to extend. This guy sees how much value is in this property. Therefore, he wants to take the house. Option C is I buy the home with a DSCR loan and I do what we call a lease back. And then I give him a lease option to buy it back for me. Okay, so what I did is I went to myinvestorloan.com. My investor loan says, yes, we'll give you a loan for this property. Cool. I'm using Tim as the person that's gonna cover my DSCR loan. Obviously, that's gonna be his rent payment for staying in the house. I'm buying the property from Tim at $369. We just got the payoff today. We thought it was $350. And I'm gonna resell it back to Tim for I think we're gonna do $490 is what we're gonna sell it back to him for. Okay, so in 6 months, I will make $125,000 or so, okay? Now, if he doesn't perform and he doesn't execute his lease option, for those of you guys that don't know what lease options are, we'll give you a video, something on the screen. If he doesn't perform the lease option, what do I get to do and how am I protected?
You get to evict him.
I get to evict him, not foreclose on him. Much easier. I don't have to go through a foreclosure. I can just evict him. Now, what's great about that is that the property's worth $650. I bought it for $369. Am I protected? What if Tim goes around and just pees all over everything and no, everything imaginable to this house, and I have to spend $100,000 to fix this house up? Do I still make money on this transaction? Yes, I do. Fully insulated, worth every penny. The other thing I'm getting from Tim is that Tim has a boat that's a $130,000 boat paid off. I'm getting that as collateral. He also has 3 lots in Seattle that are worth about $300,000 that I'm getting as collateral. And he also has a bonus coming to him in March for $80,000 that I'm getting also assigned to me. Okay, so his company is assigning that $80,000 to me. And so I'm fully protected, I'm insulated, okay? As I'm going through this transaction, my attorney says, why not save time and fees? Why not call the seller direct, or the note holder, the guy who has the note, right? This is the guy who has the promissory note. And it was drafted by an attorney. The guy doesn't know this. Pioneer Title would never draft a promissory note, especially on a seller finance note. They would not draft that. It's a legal document. Pioneer Title probably did not do that. They did the transaction, but they probably got an attorney to do it for the guy, and he's not aware that they just outsourced it to somebody else. So in his mind, he's like, oh yeah, the title company's in charge of all this. Okay, so the title company's foreclosing on this guy? Probably not the case. So there's some missing information here that I don't have. But what would be why wouldn't I just buy from Tim and do this thing and just go get a DSCR loan from myinvestorloan.com, pay this $369 off, I now own the house. Why does going and buying the note from Dawn save me time and fees? DSCR loan going to Tim to buy the house from Tim, the DSCR loan would actually go to pay off the promissory note. So the money flows differently. It's basically doing and accomplishing the same thing at the end of the day, but it's who is getting the money and who is in the contract, okay? So there are laws. This is actually the important thing you need to understand. There are laws that protect people that are in foreclosure from people like me who are much smarter than them. It is looked upon, I could let the guy go to foreclosure, okay? But could I not? He has no other option. He's tried to do everything, okay? He's like, you're my last option. Cool. Now he could list the property. He could sell it cash offer, but is that gonna keep him in the home? No. I am his last option for staying in the home. So that's the main benefit he wants. I wanna stay in the house. I'm okay with you making 125 grand on it. I just don't wanna lose my house. Cool. So If I go directly through Tim, it can be perceived as somebody is taking advantage of Tim because you're in a bad situation. And the reality is, I will look at the camera and say, I take advantage of every opportunity I have. If the sun is outside, I'm going to take advantage of the sun so I can get a nice suntan. That's also taking advantage of the sunlight. That's not a bad thing. This guy is in a bad situation. I'm taking advantage of the fact that I know things real estate agents and other cash investors have simply no clue about. Every single investor is doing this. Every stupid, boring wholesaler is doing this. Now, this is what's cool. I love wholesale too, and I love cash deals, but that doesn't solve this guy's problem. It does, but then he's gonna go off on his merry way, and Tim's gonna be in a situation where he goes, dude, I got 50 grand from this house and I have to rebuild my whole entire life. Now I have to go find this perfect house in the same city that is exactly what I want. That's not gonna happen for him for probably 5 to 10 years, probably. He'll go rent an apartment or whatever else and have to rebuild himself, and he'll spend a lot of time and energy. Versus me coming along and solving this problem. The problem is, Tim could come along, go to an attorney and go, this guy bought the house from me at $369, he's selling it back to me for $490, he took advantage of a situation. Cool. So my attorney is currently drafting documents to avoid all of this in the case that I go to C. But my attorney also is like, you know what'd be better? Let's just go to D, buy the note directly from Dawn as a note buyer, and don't do any transaction with Tim. And just buy the note. And so I will save time and I will end up saving fees, which is where your brain went. You'll save fees because the longer the time goes towards the foreclosure, the more late fees and compound costs are involved. So I can come in and save 30 days of time, and I can save some late fees in the process, and I can avoid the perception that I'm taking advantage of Tim by just going and buying the note. Make sense?
What is it gonna look like? What is the note for you to Tim gonna look like as far as his payments? Is it gonna be like a balloon?
It would be, I would give him a lease. I would not sell or finance it. I would change the terms of the note, and I would make it so I would do the same thing. It's basically, the end result is exactly the same. It's just, how am I going about, who am I negotiating with and who am I talking to is the seller who is not in distress. And I'm saying, let me save you from the process. Now I own the note, okay? So I own the note. That means I still have to foreclose on Dawn, or I need to foreclose on Tim. Okay, now I'm sitting in Dawn's position. So this complicates my job a little bit more, but what does it allow me to do? I can go to Tim and go, hey Tim, I'm the note holder now. I'm the captain now. Captain Phillips, insert B-roll, boom.
Look at me, sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
I'm the captain now, so what do I now do is I go to Tim and I go, I will renegotiate a new note with you that is not seller finance, but it's an executory contract, which means I still hold the deed and you have a year to perform, and if you don't perform, I evict you and I keep the deed. So I could do that, or I could do a lease with an option. I could do a whole bunch of stuff. It's actually better because I can redraft the note. I can throw away the note. I'm now the note holder. I can amend it. I can say, hey, we agree that we're gonna throw this old note away and create a new one and have him sign a new note, and that replaces the old one. So it gives me a position where I can change a whole bunch of stuff. So calling Dawn is our first step in going down the road of saying, why don't we control the note? Gives us a lot more control. Then we don't look like we're being predators. We actually buy the note, save Dawn time. Buying notes is annoying, and this is what you have to go through. It's another step. And okay, great. I'm not one to shy away from work. So calling Dawn, now we gotta call the title company. Here's what's gonna happen with the title company. The title company's gonna, why did he tell us to call you? Or why did you tell us to call him? Or why did he tell you to call us, is what he's gonna say. And I'm like, because I'm a sniper, I'm not a machine gun. I'm not trying to solve the problem with Dawn of why are you having me call a title company that doesn't know their butt from a hole in the ground? That's not the appropriate use of this phone call. So people will watch me take a phone call and go, why are you calling the title company? Well, because I need the title company to now call Dawn and go, yes, Dawn, it's perfectly fine that you can talk to Pace. Then I'm gonna have to talk to Dawn again and go, okay, Dawn, let's negotiate. Your note is for $369. How about I close this deal right now for $350 and I save $20,000 on the deal let's avoid the next 6 weeks of you foreclosing and I'll save you 19,000 bucks. You can be done with this headache tomorrow. So that will be my next step. So for those extra 4 or 5 calls, I'll make an extra 20,000 bucks. And that's where we currently are right now.
I love breaking down deals just like that on the whiteboard. I hope you enjoyed it too. But here's the thing. There's a whole section right after this call where all of my Subto members are asking me questions, and I go on for like 30, 40 minutes. We don't have time to put that in this YouTube channel, but we have a Subto dedicated channel where we break down a little bit more technical stuff that's not algorithm happy. I want you guys to go check that video out right here, or you can go down the link down below in the description. You guys can go watch that video, people asking those questions and me answering them as it pertained to the people who were like sitting there watching it happen live. You guys can go and watch those over there. Now, this video is actually going to be a part of multiple videos. This deal is a deal that we are making $151,000 on. I've already closed by now. I already own the property. This deal is already closed. We have multiple parts of this coming up. All you got to do, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. This will come up as a part 2, a part 3, a part 4. Where did this deal come from? It came from the No One Left Behind challenge, where I paired up with 10 brand new members of the Subto community, and I closed this deal live for them. I want you to come and join a No One Left Behind team. All you have to do is go to joinnolb.com to get a chance to join my team or one of the other 150 closers in the Subto community's teams so that you can get your first deal as well. Go to joinnolb.com, and don't forget, give us a little bit of love, subscribe to the channel, share this with somebody else. It does help us out. We got a whole team of people. Show everybody the team of people that are working on this video. Guys, yeah, they don't talk, guys. All they do is edit, just so you know. Give them some love. We are working so hard on this channel. We spend thousands and thousands of dollars on every single video just so you guys can get value. Please let us know that you appreciate that by subscribing and making a comment down below.